In this video, since I made a mistake last time when I did a major service to this engine, I figure I'll go ahead and take the opportunity to show you how to recharge your AC unit. The reason why is because when I did the major service on this engine, I completely forgot to recharge the AC unit and stuff like that, and I didn't realize it actually till yesterday, because when I serviced this engine, it was 3 months ago and it was still cold, so you didn't need the AC and stuff like that. So went to turn it on yesterday, of course it was blowing hot. Then I remembered, oh wait, I never recharged the AC unit. It wasn't due to it was leaking or anything. Like, if it is due to leaking, you do want to fix the leak obviously and stuff like that before recharging and so forth. And you also want to check to see where it's leaking and stuff. But in this case here, is actually my error, and I just completely forgot to recharge it when I had this apart, because I had to take the AC line somewhat out to get to certain components and stuff like that. So I figure I'll go and take the opportunity using my 2013 BMW 750 Li to show you how to recharge the AC on one of these. Of course, you don't want to recharge it if it's leaking freon, and in this video I'll show you how to also put it through a vacuum and stuff like that to see if it's actually leaking. And then the other way too is you could also put dye through the system and look for the dye, of course, using a UV light and some glasses, or you can use a sniffer and stuff like that and just go around, and you'll pretty much the sensor will pick up if there's a freon leak and stuff, and you'll know where the leak is and stuff. In this video here, I'm just going to concentrate pretty much on how to do a proper recharge, and not just the can one where you take the can and just put it in through one of those gauges and that's it. No, we're actually going to use a manifold gauge, a vacuum and stuff, and do it the proper way, of course, and stuff. Now, one of the things you want to go ahead and look at, of course, is on the requirements pretty much how much freon you need, and of course you want to also see what kind of oil you need too as well and stuff like that when you go ahead and recharge it, and how much of it you need and stuff, and it tells you right on the sticker right here. So that's the first thing. So one way to do is you can buy the can of freon and stuff like that, and you can get pretty much the rate that you need and stuff like that, of course, in ounces, and you convert grams to ounces, and then you can get the rate and put exactly what it needs. You can also use an AC machine to do it and then program it to put that amount of weight. You can also use a scale. There's many different ways to do it. But one of the first steps you got to do, though, is, of course, find your low and high pressure side. And on a lot of videos, they always make an error and they say that's the low pressure side and that's the high pressure side, and that's incorrect. That's actually the low pressure side and that's the high pressure side. So let's just say you were topping off your AC and stuff like that. You're just going to need to recharge it through the low pressure side, of course, which is buried under there, of course. What you got to do, have to remove this and this to get the head into there, so you can go and clip it on there when you do the charge. And the torque specs for that is 30 newton meters, and the front bolt for this strut stabilizer right here is actually going to be 56 newton meters on that bolt right there and stuff like that. So when you go torque it back down, you do want to torque it to spec, but right now we're going to go and concentrate on removing it, of course. And for this top one, you need a 15 mil bolt, and this one here you need a 5/8 socket to go and remove it and stuff like that too. Then you'll be able to remove this here, and that just snaps out this way. So you want to snap this out this way, lift it out this way, not making sure not to break the clips right there, of course. And then it'll give you plenty of access, of course, to hook up your hose and stuff in your manifold gauge to high and low pressure side. Now for the high pressure side, you just simply lift this and you got access right there, and that's your high pressure valve right there. Now I do recommend, though, when you do an AC service on there, that you do change the valve stems inside these right here. So you go and use a core remover, remove the core and put new ones on there, because they do tend to leak through age and stuff like that there. So why not just go ahead and change it out while you're at it. But okay, so first thing we're gonna do is go ahead and move this pretty much stiffener right here. Remove those two bolts here, then I'll go ahead and move this, and then I'll get access to and set up the manifold gauge and the vacuum and all that, because we're actually going to go and put the system under vacuum to get all the moisture and air, let the pump do its job for 45 minutes before we go and recharge it, because you don't want any air in the system, because air will make it acidic and then it'll destroy your compressor, O-rings, and everything in the system and stuff like that. So we're going to go ahead and do that. So one of the first steps that you want to go ahead and do when recharging AC is obviously set up your manifold gauge and stuff like that. And in this car here, you have to remove, like I said, the strut stabilizer, stiffener as we call it. And then you can remove the air ducting that was right here, and you can just unclip it this way here and then slide it out this way, and it comes out, and now you have access to your low pressure port right there. And that's the low pressure side. The high pressure side is in the front right there, and you can tell too just by the size, of course, the valve. It's bigger on this side and smaller on that side there. So you want to go and have it hooked up to your gauge appropriately, and of course that's low, that's high side. And then this yellow line here is what you're going to use to vacuum the system, to test for leaks, and also to recharge and stuff like that. So right now I got it hooked up to this vacuum on the floor right here. So the next step you want to go ahead and do is, of course, put this in the closed position. So actually open, my fault. So we're going to open this up here, and that's going to push down on that valve right there. And then we're going to do the same thing there. There should be nothing in it because I never charged it. All right. Yeah, it's probably reading air and stuff like that, but here you go there. And then you can open these two up too as well. So we're going to open that up right there, and we're going to open up both sides there. Now when you're recharging, you only go open up the low side because we're going to charge on the low side, and you're going to keep this closed. But for vacuuming the system out, you want to go and open both up, of course. So we're going to open that up, and you can hear the pump down there kind of gargling. All right, and then we're going to go and turn the pump on now. And of course, make sure you got on. You can see there, it's pulling vacuum. It's going to take a little bit to get to this 30 here, but you want to keep it at around 30, and that'll be the vacuum there. And you can see it's pulling vacuum right now. So it's going to take a little bit, and pretty much what I'm going to do is I'm going to run that for like 45 minutes and vacuum this whole system out. Once I'm done, I'll be right back once that's all said and done. One thing you want to go ahead and do too as you're vacuuming the system, because you got to keep this pump running for about 45 minutes, is to make sure that the vacuum pump actually has oil and it's at level. And of course you want to use the appropriate oil for your vacuum pump, of course. So over 45 minutes later, and it's done vacuuming the system for moisture and air, of course, and stuff like that, and blowing off what it needs to. So the very next step, it's going to be to close those valves on the manifold gauge off so we can keep the vacuum while the pump is still running. So you want to make sure that's actually still running when you close those valves off. Then you're going to hear the pump change chip as you close the valves off, of course. And once it changes pitch, then you can go ahead and turn the vacuum off, disconnect the hose, and then we're going to do the charge. Now if you're using these cans here, you do have to use an adapter, of course. That will adapt it to the hose right there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and put the ounce of oil that it lost when I recovered the system. We're going to put it back into the system. Now you want to make sure you got the right PAG type oil in there. There's 3 common types: 46, 100, and 150. So look at the manufacturer's recommendation, and of course the compressor manufacturer and all that, and use exactly what it calls for, of course. Now you only want to put in what you lost, of course, because there's always going to be a lot in the compressor itself. Now if you do drain the compressor completely, or you're installing a new compressor with no oil in it, most compressors already have oil already in it. But if it doesn't, then you want to go and put, like say it costs for 8 ounces of PAG 100 or whatever, you want to put that in. In this case, this car costs for PAG 46, so that's what we're going to put back into it. And then we're going to go ahead and do the charge. And to do the charge is going to be a little bit tricky, because obviously the compressor is not going to kick on, because the low pressure sensor is going to detect there's no pressure in the system. Now because the system's under vacuum, it's going to pull the oil, so we're going to use the vacuum to pull the oil into the system. And then what we're going to do is turn the car, and after we get oil into the system, put it on max AC, and then keep that on, and then hope that it'll start pulling refrigerant. If it doesn't pull refrigerant, like the AC clutch isn't kicking on, you want to find the relay, bypass the relay. Once you bypass the relay and the clutch starts spinning, you also want to do the ones for the fan too as well, and keep that on as well, and then it should pull Freon into the system and you'll be good. The other way you could do it too is Some cars you can actually go into the AC, so if you got a bi-directional scanner, you can actually trigger the AC compressor on and off, and it'll pull refrigerant that way too. So that's what we'll go ahead and do. So once I got the oil back into it, now we're going to open up the valve. So you want to open up, of course, the valve on the can itself. You want to push this to work out any air in this line, of course. And then we're going to open these two up and let the vacuum itself, which is under vacuum right now, as you can see, pull in the oil. And so that's what I'm going to do right now. So went ahead and put the oil in, the vacuum took the oil up, and then I also went ahead and doing its first charge, which I'm emptying out this can right now in there, and the pressures are starting to come up because the compressor is kicking on and off. So I'm going to go ahead and get ready for the second can. Every time you do another can, you want to close this off, let the air out of the line until you start seeing liquid come out, and then go ahead and do the next one. So went ahead and finished actually adding the oil and the refrigerant to the AC on this thing. Of course, I did the vacuum and stuff too, of course. So now it's fully recharged properly, and the gauge kind of agrees that I put exactly what was required on that sticker. I even went as far as weighed the last can to make sure I get it dead on spec, and the gauges quite agree. It's supposed to be between 25 to 30 psi on the low side, and on the high side you want between 200 and 250. You never want to see 250 psi on the high side, and you want to try not to exceed 30 psi on the low side when you're recharging your AC, of course, if you don't know how much weight inside the actual system already and stuff like that, because some of you might be just adding Freon rather than doing the whole entire system from scratch. So if you're recharging it, just make sure you're between 25 to 30 and between 200 and 250 psi, and you'll be fine. So, and that's one thing, you don't want to put too much Freon either. You definitely don't want to exceed what's on that sticker, because it's not going to make it colder. If anything, you're going to freeze up the lines, and it's not going to work properly. So make sure you put just enough Freon as required, and you'll be fine. So I'm going to go ahead and get this back together, turn off the engine, and get that air box reassembled back in. Of course, all the lines disconnected and stuff, and we'll be done. So went ahead and finished putting the air box in for that bank, and also went ahead and put the strut support or stiffener back in there. Yes, you do require a torque wrench to torque it down to specs, of course, but other than that, everything's back together. All cables are where they're supposed to be now, so I can close this up and test the AC when I get inside the car, of course. I figured the best way to demonstrate this would be probably use a thermal camera, and you can see what the outside temperature is, about 68, 69 degrees. As we go to the vents, you can see there, yep, 44, 43 is dropping, of course. Yeah, she is working good now, so yep, that fixed the issue pretty much. So one thing you want to go ahead and do once you go ahead and finish fixing the issue with the AC, of course, is check the codes and then clear them out. And one of them, of course, is compressor shutdown due to under pressure. That's because the pressure sensor, obviously, due to no refrigerant in the system. So you can go ahead and just erase that pretty much. So what you do is you go and erase the DTC. And there you go. And now the job's complete. Now I figure I'll go and address this before someone mentions it in comment, and I know I had the hood up and you were hearing ticking sounds and stuff like that. I know someone's gonna say, oh wow, you got a bad motor, your motor's ticking this and that and stuff like that. Well, being a master tech, I can tell you this, it's actually completely normal on that particular engine. There's nothing wrong with it. That's how they were when new, and that's how they are gonna be, even when old, pretty much. And the reason for it is because it's a direct injected engine, so the way they have it set up, it's normal to have that distinct ticking sound. And honestly, the camera actually amplifies the noise a little bit more than what it really is, plus the hood being open and stuff like that. It's not that loud, and like being inside right now, you can barely hear it because it's obviously dampened now and stuff like that. But nope, that noise is actually completely normal on that particular motor.